match the output of the 4 Ultra AC-10 Kodiak that's standing by its side? We'll have to see. We will have to see. That is an
And that
interesting
Grasshopper
choice.
5P is a 5 ER large laser Grasshopper. That is some serious range.
Now, 54th is sending its lightest pack straight to Epsilon right out of the gate, including those dual Griffin 3Ms. I don't know if they're maybe going to give away a little bit too much information. They have a Grasshopper Chap Dude with Overwatch over Epsilon, and he can see, hey, there's a couple Griffins over there.
Yeah, and he's getting some fire in on him right now.
He absolutely is. He's got a good angle at him. He's able to get some of that damage downfield, and they are making calls saying that they're in a brawl deck. I wouldn't doubt it. Seeing 2 Griffins on the field, unless they're bringing LRMs, of course, but they're not. That's going to give a lot away. Now, we got that Mauler in the backfield. He is kind of happy that he's got the extra range at this point because he's tossing that at pretty extreme ranges, but very interesting setup here for 54th, and they are getting harassed from the right side by the Jenner 2CA, probably ER medium laser build, and he's getting chased off by the Oxide at this point. Where is this
I just want to point out this Grasshopper 5H has 5 ER larges, and the maximum range on these things with the quirks is 810 meters.
Radic has come over and joined Chap Dude on the right flank, and they are really spreading out, but they are able to get a lot of really good angles, and they are just doing work on this Griffin. The two of them together are just pounding
needs to push at this point.
This is brutal because they are just going to get picked apart. They can't play a cap game like this, and they're a brawl team that is
like
not
here they
getting
come
into a
over
brawl
pushing
rush.
towards Theta.
Now they're heading over towards Theta, and they're gonna take a lot of extra damage the whole way. If they're gonna do this, they should have dropped down.
Yeah, I agree.
This Black Knight and this Kodiak just taking a pounding from the left side. They could have dropped down and used that cover to at least get on the approach. But
and really, it was just those 2 mechs that came over. I thought the whole team was going to come with them.
And the Mauler is caught out in the back, and here comes Radic getting those harassing shots in the back with the large pulse lasers in that 4X. 4X, of course, has the jump jets and laser duration, I believe, so it's able to put those shots downfield pretty quick.
And the first mech goes down. One of the Griffins just got taken out on the Theta ramp.
And he, of course, was opened up pretty well in those initial pokes against Chap Dude, so those Griffins are not doing too hot. Hydro Kyle in the Oxide playing really close to this Kodiak, and actually playing it kind of decently. He is taking a lot of hits,
doing a nice job.
He's doing a really good job using his cover and getting in on Gilikuda and just harassing the hell out of him. He needs to seal the deal, though.
Yeah, Black Knight just went down for 54th. They are a little too spread out at this point. Too little, too late.
Yep, this is not looking good. Even if they take Gilikuda out in that PPC Gauss Kodiak 3, and they do, but they're all very, very hurt, and it's going to be a long road to come back from this one with damages as low as they can. The Overwatch across the way of the Grasshopper alone is going to be a massive pain, just pain everywhere. There's just so much pain on the field, and it's not looking too good for 54th. So very good play by Atari Scorpions. Good map control, forcing 54th into a corner, basically buttoning them up. They had to make a call of which way to go. They took a lot of fire as they traversed the terrain. Didn't really get down into cover properly to limit the amount of damage they came in, and it was really just the stagnation with a brawl deck. If you're gonna play brawl, you need to commit. You can't just sit there and allow them to get free hits on you. It needs to be from the very start of the match. You need to have a plan, and then you need to stick to it and get in there and get the job done. So very clean win from Atari Scorpions against 54th, and I think 54th can obviously come back and learn something from this.
Just taking a look at the damage, it's here. Maverick in the Griffin 3M with 2 damage. That's very painful. El Switchblade, team captain, with 60 in the Griffin 3M as well. Black Knight with 76 damage. Just a lot of mechs getting called out, taking way too much damage in the beginning in order to stay alive and do the damage that they needed to do. On the other hand, you had Mr. Petzold in the Hunchback 2C, 495, and one of those Grasshoppers, Azarin, doing 471. So some decent damage spread across the board for AS, like you mentioned. They did a great job spreading out, controlling the map, and taking away any sort of cover that 54th could have in their positioning while they were trying to figure out what to do. Essentially, the entire match, they were taking damage there from Atari Scorpions.
Absolutely. So let's go take a look at the map. And hopefully I don't draw on my face this time, because that was embarrassing.
I hope you do.
So we have an immediate movement up here for the grasshopper. Actually, I think he was up a little bit, so he came up to this rock, and he was overwatching Epsilon pretty carefully. Eventually, the Raven joined him over in the D5 region, and they were able to essentially get some good fire on that Epsilon corner. Initial movement for the Brawl team, they sent their Charlie Lance straight to Epsilon, and they actually doubled back after taking quite a bit of fire. That prevented any sort of cap on Epsilon having those large lasers there just basically all day on Epsilon. You can't cap while you're taking fire in Conquest right now. They did bring the rest of their guys up to Bear in Charlie 4 and ultimately just got shot up a whole bunch. The rest of it, Antari's Scorpions had a good spread. I think it was mostly on the D4 region, but they did have some guys over on D3. So they doubled back. Some of them stayed up top, which I think was a mistake because they're just taking extra damage. Since they're going to go over to a ramp anyways, just drop them down. You know, there's no reason to go up here and take all this extra damage.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
Yeah,
moving up and yeah, they're getting hit from the Overwatch over here. You've got the Raven then sneaking around behind, doing some damage to the Mauler in the back, and then getting up in behind. It was just very. This is sloppy looking on my map, but it was very reactionary and systematic control of the map for Antari Scorpions. If I can imagine if I was in their comms, it would have been calm, cool, collected, and surgical. You know, it would have been very clean, and unfortunately, 54th basically just walked into the killing grounds for him, and taking all that extra damage on those Griffins and stuff at the beginning, you just can't get them up into the fight, and your entire brawl strength just fizzles out before you even get into your optimal range. So, I think personally, what would have been more warranted, you know, you send your lights up to take a look, whatever. Don't worry about the cap game. When you're running Brawler, you need to just straight up identify where they are and be like, well, okay, let's just frickin' go. Let's go. Take out half their team. You can worry about the rest after. Not saying that that's a clear-cut win for them if they did that. Not saying that at all. The other option, of course, is to just straight up around Epsilon. They would have had prior warning, but they could have maybe caught that Grasshopper out, you know?
Yeah, they could have caught that Grasshopper, but I think they would have, at the expense of getting maybe 2 mechs, which is definitely a good thing. But they didn't have the entire Antari Scorpions team there.
No. They would have had to then cross over to Delta 3.
Moving, quickly keep moving, which you can do. You can murder ball and just keep moving around the map, you know, killing 1, 2 mechs at a time sort of thing, as long as you do it quickly. But the longer it takes you to kill 1 mech and the next mech and the next mech, is the longer those range mechs can keep firing at you, trying to even it up.
And from my experience, AS is a very nimble team, so even if you do catch a couple off, they're not going to let you take them down quickly. So it's going to be a little bit of a chase, a little bit of a fight, and then by the time you do take them down, their team is clear across the map, shooting at you yet again from the safety, with several canyons between you and them. And if you're dragging a Mauler MX-90 and a Kodiak 3 around behind you, you can't sustain that movement for very long. So they could have fared better getting that brawl in there quicker, but AS had such good positioning in the Delta 3, Delta 4, and Delta 5 positions that as soon as you commit to one side, they're sprinting off in all kinds of directions and just pelting you with the large lasers from everywhere. That scatter strat, I've seen it used before by AS, and I've seen it used before very effectively by AS, and they demonstrated that here today. So
yeah, it was just a solid strategy by AS. It's something they're good at, and they played it well.